What people fail to realize is that there is a ton more on owning a business. When you let somebody go, it just kills you. The only way to be a good parent, there's only one secret, and that is patience. I fired him on the spot. I said, you're out of here, go home, you don't work for us anymore. That's hard to do, to fire your kid. You want to have sleepless nights, that's how you have sleepless nights. You don't get rich off your business. You can't do everything.
Hey there, business enthusiasts. Welcome to the Chills Podcast, brought to you by All Weather Roof. Because just like a sturdy roof, our conversations are built to last. I'm your host, Brent Loberg, and we're about to dive into the world of business, family, and the moments that give us those exhilarating chills. Ever wonder what keeps successful people inspired? Well, get ready to find out as we chat with some fantastic all-weather customers, partners, vendors, and friends. We'll explore their triumphs, challenges, and maybe even some unexpected secrets. After all, business is not just about numbers. It's about the people behind them. So grab your metaphorical popcorn and join us on this journey. Get ready to be inspired, maybe even get a few chills of your own. This is the Chills Podcast. Let the goosebumps begin. Introduce yourself and name your company.
My name is Dan Nickel. I started TechMate in January of 2015 with my brother, Andrew. He moved up from New York. He was living outside of the city. And after I got out of service, I was stumbling a little bit trying to find something. So what I did is I started college at 24 and did a 4-year degree in 3 years through the SUNY system, New York. So it was basically called SUNY IT at the time. Now it's called SUNY Polytech. I got a degree in computer science. I was one of the first computer science classes that went through the institution. And got my first job before I even graduated. I never even went to graduation. I actually started work that Monday with AT&T.
Really?
Yep. So I started as a coder. I was a code monkey for 23 years.
Oh, wow.
Yep. That's what they call just writing code.
Okay.
And at one time I loved it.
Sure.
But then I started getting burned out. You start doing the same things day in, day out. You start struggling, trying to find that energy to be able to do your job. And once that happens, you have to change course.
Mm-hmm.
When you can't find the energy to go to work and you have to push yourself to go to work, that's when you change the dynamic. That's when I started TechMate.
Got it.
Yeah. At the time, no direction or anything. So I said, hey, come on up. Let's start this business. So we started a business. We started in St. Michael, opened a store, just got a little space there, opened the store. The space is still going, after 9 years. And basically we just started, him, myself, and my wife, and started working tech services, repairing things. And what's funny is I had no clue how to repair anything because I was a software person. So I knew how to write code. I knew dynamics of databases and objects and all that stuff. But if you showed me a motherboard at the time, it would have been like, what's that? But he knew how to repair them. Okay. So basically we opened up and just started repairing things. Phones. I was the first one to do an iPhone 4, a screen replacement, learn that. So I did that for a long time. And after that, I never touched a phone after the iPhone 4s left. And then I started wanting to get into managed service providing, basically providing IT services for businesses. So basically what I did is bought a little business in Osseo that was doing MSP because it's hard to get into the MSP world without buying into it, because then you have an instant customer base, you have instant value. Mm-hmm. So basically I bought into the business, got in the MSP world and haven't looked back.
And what is MSP?
MSP is managed service providing. So it's basically like companies, they don't find a reason to get full-time IT staff. So MSPs become that IT staff. They manage email, manage websites, they manage servers, they manage networks, they put in cameras, they put in Wi-Fi. They do all sorts of things that the business itself either isn't going to allocate resources providing a full-time IT person, so they outsource it. So basically that's what we do.
What would you say your bread and butter, like what's your core of what you guys do?
We do a little bit of everything. The core, mainly a lot of servers, and a lot of backup systems for customer data. That's pretty much our core. But we do cameras. We put in a ton of cameras. We put in a ton of Wi-Fi points, so you have mesh Wi-Fi throughout your building. We deal with a lot of, believe it or not, trades. So it's all CNC, it's construction, it's manufacturers. 90% of our business comes from that arena. And then the other 10% is probably like law firms, dentists, sort of the white collar side of things.
Is that what you'd consider like your perfect customer then?
Our perfect customer is trades.
Okay.
It's manufacturing, it's CNC, it's shops that build things. That's our favorite customer to work with because they are the most down to earth, easy. You just don't, am I allowed to say this? Piss them off.
Sure.
As long as you're honest and straightforward, they will do business with you all day. And that's what we do.
Okay. How many locations do you have?
Right now we have 3. We had 4. We had a location in Monticello that I didn't like, so our lease came up. So I thought that I'd jump on another location, but unfortunately it's kind of a owner's market right now. So property owners dictate tougher terms than they have in the past. So I haven't found a spot that I like right now.
Any funny stories that you've had over the years in the business or since starting your business?
Oh, I could tell you a million from times we go out and we deal with a lot of older customers. So we'll go out to a site. They'll be, hey, my PC's not working. Can you come out and find out what it is? And a lot of time we go out and we just have to plug it in.
Okay.
And then hit the power button. Those are funny moments. We have moments where one moment where a guy, this is kind of a weird story, but his computer loaded with porn. He comes in, wants it fixed because it's popping up all these ads and stuff like that. So, we don't judge. We did a wellness and he proceeded to sit out in our parking lot for 15 minutes attached to our Wi-Fi. Well, it was crazy. We were wondering, should we call the cops? Should we not call the cops? That was a little freak. But the guy didn't care. That was his thing.
Had to go about his business, huh?
Yeah. There's a million funny little stories for customers.
So you moved from Vermont to Minnesota.
I did back in 98.
Yep. You have a family here now.
I do.
And you've
3
been here ever
kids.
since?
Yep. I lived in St. Michael, probably 24 years. And I moved to Osseo, raised 3 kids in St. Michael, 2 boys and a girl.
Okay.
My son actually works for me. He runs the stores.
Oh, nice.
Yep. My daughter has gone to St. Thomas. And my other son will be working for us soon.
Okay.
Yeah. Once we get the new location that we're moving into in St. Michael.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How many employees do you guys have?
I think right now it's 12.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're just a little business. It's a little family-owned business. My brother, myself, my wife, my son, and then soon to be my other son. And then we have about 7 other employees, 7 or 8, 5 that are full-time, salaried. And then we have probably 3 or 4 part-timers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Any tidbit of information you can give to like an up and coming entrepreneur or wanting to start their own business, or just advice for business owners?
Yeah, here's the advice I have is when you start a business in your head, you think this whole thing is going to go great. Essentially, you start your business, you can do the work. But what people fail to realize is that there is a ton more on owning a business, because suddenly you're looking at insurance. And you're looking at, unemployment insurance. You're looking at taxes that are different. Suddenly you can't do your own taxes. You have to pay an accountant $1,500 or whatever it is to do your taxes every year. So you never take that into account. You never take into account workman's comp. And workman's comp can be pretty expensive, depending on what business you're in. There's a ton of things from a business side. We all know how to do the work. If you start a business, you know what you're doing. Let's say you're a contractor or a construction person. You can build that house. You know how to pound those nails. But what you soon learn is that you have a million other things that you're responsible for, including families. I mean, you have employees, you have families that you're taking care of. You have families you have to pay every 2 weeks or whatever your pay schedule is. So it's an eye opener.
Sure.
It's interesting.
Yeah, there's a sense of pride. I always talk about, we have annual Christmas party at the end of the year and all the families come and we have dinner together. But it's like you get to that party and you really see all the people that you affect and all the sales
you're putting kids through college.
For sure.
You're supporting family vacations. And it's your responsibility to keep the money coming in to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And hopefully you hire the right people. You go through people. unfortunately. I mean, as a business owner, every business owner has done this where, you hire and you have to, unfortunately, they don't work out. The toughest fire you have is your first one.
Yeah.
When you let somebody go, it just kills you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, and this is sort of sadistic in a sense, as you get easier at it. That's the unfortunate thing. You almost become more unfeeling towards that. It's really kind of a weird ideal is when you wake up one day and you have to let somebody go and you're like, oh, okay, and you go and do it. And then you go out and have breakfast.
You have to put the blinders on, and
you have to put the blinders on. Your first one, though, there's no breakfast. You don't eat for 2 or 3 days and it just eats you.
Mm-hmm.
But you learn to toughen up, I guess.
Definitely. So the name of the podcast is The Chills. So I always talk about like when the hair stands on the back of your neck or on your arm, those good moments with the family, like something that kind of gives you the chills.
Seeing him successful.
Okay.
My son just got married. I thought that was awesome, to a girl from Brazil.
Really?
Yeah. And he's living in St. Michael and he bought his own place. And I thought that was awesome. And that's what you want to see as a parent. And my daughter, she's in her 3rd year at St. Thomas. She has 1 more year. She's gone through 3 years, which is just awesome. And she works, at the golf courses around here. And, she does super good. To see your kids do super good that is probably the most fulfilling thing in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you do as a parent. And the rest of the time, all you do is worry about it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that ever ends.
For sure. Well, you put a lot of work into your kids.
Oh, yeah.
I think about when we were having our first kid, you read the books and you're going through like what to expect when you're in, just the books and you read about how to be a good parent. But I remember our first kid was a girl. I dropped our daughter off at our daycare providers. And remember what he told me. He's like, you can read all these books and prepare, but the best thing that you can do is act how you want them to act.
What's funny is those books to me, I don't agree with those books because I went through that, how to be a parent and how to raise kids. But reality is a lot different than in the books. We always have this in the book idea. Mm-hmm. But truthfully, the only way to be a good parent, and there's only one secret, and that is patience. Patience is the secret to being a parent. Patience is a secret to owning a business. Patience is a secret to almost everything, I think. Mm-hmm. I mean, patience is everything. If you have patience, you're going to do okay. You're going to raise good kids. Your business will do well. It's just you have to have patience. I mean, that is basically the bottom line.
Agreed.
My son, he worked for me down when we first started out in Buffalo.
Okay.
And so he has kind of a temper once in a while. So he's in the store, we're in with all the employees, and he takes the customer's phone and he's pissed off. And so he takes it and he throws it.
The customer
wasn't there, but the other employees were there.
Got it.
And so I had to fire him. So I fired him on the spot. I said, you're out of here. Go home. You don't work for us anymore. That's hard to do, to fire your kid. It's super hard. You want to have sleepless nights. That's how you have sleepless nights. So basically, he went to work for J&B in St. Michael, 2:00 in the morning. He's in a meat locker, and so he worked there probably 6 months. Then he calls me up one day. He's like, Dad, could I come back? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. But, we're going to have an understanding.
Sure.
And so since then, we've been great.
Okay.
We can't really work together. It's hard to work with your kids.
Yep.
If you've ever do you have children?
We do, but they're not old enough to do that yet,
Someday they will be.
Yeah.
And then you will find out that you'll be like, oh, I want to give them a break. Maybe have them work for me, in the summers or whatever. Incredibly difficult. I do know people that do work with their kids and they have great relationships, but in most cases, it's very stressful in a relationship to work with your children. So basically we were working together on the business side and found out that we were struggling with our relationship. So basically I told him, I said, how about you run the stores, because that way we don't really have to interact.
Yeah.
But it's it's tough to bring your kids into the mix and work with them and have a healthy relationship working with them.
Why do you feel that?
I suppose it depends on the personality. Okay. But if you have a solid A personality, you have all these personality types, right? Like A, B, whatever the other ones are. Mm-hmm. But if you have 2 A's and, your child comes from your DNA,
Yeah.
So he's going to be similar. That's where the dynamic gets hard.
Got it.
So I found that I had to fire him, which was horrible.
So did you fire him to kind of set the tone for the rest of the employees?
That is correct. Yep, I had to. I didn't have a choice because they were there.
Okay.
If I allowed him to do that, it would be like, oh, this kid's privileged, or it's nepotism. And basically he doesn't follow the same rules as we follow. And so you have to set precedent sometime and just say, hey, it doesn't matter who the person is. You still need to follow the dynamic. If you go out of that, you won't have a job.
How did you handle the rehire then with the employees?
Well, most of our employees, it was 6 months down the road. So, and we still have like Mike, the guy that you saw, he's worked for us. He was our second hire.
The guy that answered the phone in the commercial? Sure.
Second or third hire, and he still works for us. So you're on St. Michael, the St. Michael store. He's the manager there. He's worked for us for 8 years. He really knows his stuff. The management portion, we're still teaching him. But, your employees, you find a dedicated employee because it is about respect from both parties. An owner has to respect the employees because they are filling in places that you can't do. You can't do everything. And employees need to respect also the management team, so there has to be loyalty to both. So you need to be loyal to your employees, which we are. And our employees need to be loyal to us. And as soon as that ends, then the relationship is severed.
I like the second chance with your son, because sometimes it takes something drastic to get somebody to open their eyes like, hey, I can't be blowing up at work like that.
That is correct.
So it probably was a good learning experience for you, your son, and the employees.
It was definitely for my son, which was more important. It's important to have the employee dynamic, but obviously your kids are your kids. So you want them to learn something from it. And I think he did, haven't had a problem since.
Does that come from you or your wife? Like when he blew up or like through or the...
Oh, that comes from her.
Does it? Yeah.
That comes from my ex-wife.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah, because I'm remarried. We got separated. My daughter was probably 1, when we separated, but I still raised them.
Yeah.
They lived at the house, kept the house. That's where they grew up. They played sports, baseball. My daughter, volleyball, basketball, soccer. I coached soccer for a while.
Yeah. It's funny because like we have our middle child is a boy, and the personality traits that your wife kind of tells you have, you kind of blind to it. But then as like our son's getting older, you're like, holy shit, that's me. And maybe I am that way.
that's where you're like, okay, maybe I need to start working on a couple things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Back to those chills moments. How about within the business? What's that feel good? We talked about having to let people go, but what are those moments that make you feel really good about owning a business or running a business?
For me, it's completing projects. It's when you have a customer that's down and out, things aren't working, everything's falling apart, and being able to go in and fix it. And we've had many successes like that. Or being able to go in and set them on a path for growth from an IT perspective. Those are the things that make me feel good. I also still code, and coding is one of those things that when you get something to work, coding is writing a book. Basically, you're writing some. And when you see that completed and you see people using it, that to me is one of the feel-good success moments that I can do. We all say it's about money, but most business owners, you don't get rich off your business. Your business sustains you, hopefully. And as long as it sustains you, it's successful. You don't have to be a billionaire.
Yeah.
You just have to have it sustain you, have it sustain your employees. And if it does that, it's a successful business.
Yeah. You get rich off of your experiences and the people you meet, the people you can influence, and the friends you make along the way.
You do. You meet a lot of people. And for me, because we work with so many businesses, I meet a lot of business owners and a lot of great people. And to be a business owner, you have to have, I'm going to try to put this in nice, but sort of balls, because you are
we're on this podcast.
Okay. I wasn't sure, but you have to have balls, and, you have to be able to do things that are out of your comfort level. And if you can do that, then, you'll probably do okay.
Yeah.
You want to keep that under control a little bit.
For sure.
But yeah,
We always talk about being nimble. You have to be able to pivot when things aren't going well, and you got to be able to take risks and grow balls and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
fun.
You got to take risk. That's for sure.
For sure. So bonus question. You said you were from Vermont. We talked about NovaCon and stick season. So Vermont fall or Minnesota fall? What's prettier?
Wow. This is no offense to Minnesota, but Vermont is beautiful.
I figured that.
In the fall.
I figured
you just
that.
have to put up with the people from the cities who decide to drive 20 miles an hour and stop their car and get out while they have a line of traffic behind them.
Sure.
That's kind of irritating. You don't see that here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
But what's really ironic? My wife, she's always like, we'll be driving through Minnesota because she grew up in Ortonville. So we'll have to go out, out west a lot. And she'll be looking at the foliage and she's like, oh, look how beautiful that is. And me, I found out late in life that I was colorblind.
Oh, really?
So basically I can't see. I never understood people's, like, oh, this is so stunning and beautiful. And I'm like, what are they looking at? I never got that.
Sure.
So even growing up in Vermont, I never got that.
Okay.
But Vermont was kind of a cool, safe state.
Mm-hmm.
Diversity doesn't really exist in Vermont. So to move to Minnesota, there's a lot more diversity here. There's a lot more faces.
Yeah.
Vermont didn't have that. All faces were white.
Sure.
So it was cool to move to Minnesota just because I got to meet a lot more different types of people. Minneapolis, this area, the whole Minneapolis area, there's a lot of different restaurants, a lot of different things that you can see, a lot of things that are out of your element that you didn't grow up with. That's what's cool. And that's why I like Minnesota. Mm-hmm. I think Minnesota is the best state to raise kids.
Agreed.
If you asked me Vermont or Minnesota raising kids, I would have said Minnesota. But
Agreed.
Vermont has a hill, so I have to say Vermont is prettier in the fall.
Yeah, I like the mountains too.
And then they have maple season in the spring, so you go out and you see all these wood burners basically distilling the sap out of the trees, and every maple tree is tapped.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting. So you get the best maple syrup there.
Got it.
Yeah.
I like it. How do people get in touch with you?
People get in touch with us through our website, techmatebusiness.com. And also through email, business@techmatemn.com, or they can just give us a call.
Well, thanks for coming in today.
Yeah,
this was fun.
This was fun. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And that's a wrap, folks. A huge thank you to our incredible guests and, of course, All Weather Roof for making this podcast possible. If you enjoyed these conversations as much as we did, don't forget to hit subscribe and share the chills with your fellow business aficionados. Remember, it's not just about business, it's personal, and it's all about the people. Stay inspired, chase those dreams, and let the chills guide you. Till next time, this is Brent, signing off from the Chills Podcast. Catch you on the flip side.